Two pawns on the board now. Let's start with a simple race example. Who is winning? Yes, this is a straightforward one. Black is clearly outside the square. For rule of the square and other endgame videos before this one, check the video description, all the links are there. Simply queen your pawn as white by starting the race, and black cannot help it, they simply cannot get there in time. Whatever white does, it is clearly winning. Black is helpless. Sometimes the race to queen is a bit trickier and requires precise calculation. In this example, if we would allow black king to reach the square e2, perhaps they would also be able to queen their pawn and get a draw. But they are a move short. So white obviously start with pushing their pawn with a4. King starts to go diagonally for it, trying to threaten supporting their pawn and catching the white pawn. But white continues to march, and now black king has a choice. And whatever they do, white is clearly winning. If they continue to march towards the white pawn is again running away. And if they now want to do anything like this, if they want to come even closer, it is simply not fast enough. Because now white can continue to march their pawn. And they will very, very quickly win this game. Even if black king now reaches the e2 square, it's not a key square anymore, because white has enough time by getting the queen out to get rid of that pawn. The first two examples were about the simple race, where one side is just quicker than the other. That is the simplest way to win the positions with two pawns on the board. Let's see something different now. It seems both sides here are going to queen their pawns, and it might be a draw. And yet it is not. Why? Let's see. So white continues pushing, black does the same, white plays b7, black plays now g2, and white is queening. But black does not have time to queen because it is a check. And whatever black plays on the next move, white will get ready to bring their queen to the square of g1. And that means it will be able to pick up the pawn very, very soon and win the game. Somewhat more complex example now. Black needs only two moves, one with a pawn, one with a king, to support that pawn in queening on e1 square. So does it mean that king should approach immediately and prevent that threat? Actually, this is a blunder, because after king to f4, white king is forced to go to e6, and now black king will simply be within the square of the white pawn and easily draw. There is only one right move in this position, in fact, and that is starting to push the pawn immediately. Now this obviously seems like a pawn race which will end up in a draw, but it is not. Why is that so? White continues pushing, and so does black. But at this moment, white has a critical move, which is king to d4. And what does this move do? It forces black to defend this pawn, and now white can continue pushing the pawn. And once white is now taking the pawn out, it is simply winning because it is taking the queen out with a check. So what you want to do, you will not always have the other side's king in the right place for you to get your queen with a check, but you want to direct it to the right square to gain a very important tempo that will help you eventually win that game. Sometimes you can win easily even if the opponent gets their queen out. Let's check this example. a5, h3, a6, h2, a7, and now black has a choice. If they get their queen out to h1, white is clearly winning, because after queening, black king needs to step away, and white queen simply picks up the black one, because it was able to attack it on queening, and black couldn't do anything about it. So the only alternative that black had was to step away with the black king immediately, and now white is queening first, but it's also a very easy win for white. In this position, it is pretty obvious that both sides will queen their pawns, but white has a huge advantage, and that is after the queening of its pawn, white can checkmate the black king. So firstly the queen, then the black queen, and then white very easily wins by checkmate. So it's not only whether you can catch the opponent's pawn or grab their queen on the first move. Sometimes you have a mating threat that can help you easily win this type of pawn endgame. A tougher example for you now. The only winning move here for white is king to e5. Black is now going to f2, and white needs to play king to f4. Now, it seems that white pawn is free to run and become a queen, but so can black. So this is how it actually works. And now white has an important decision. What will it do on the next move? Because once black plays king to g2, it becomes very tricky, because it is threatening to get that pawn to a queen and draw the game. So is the right move here king gets there and picks up the pawn? No, this is actually a blunder, and it is drawing, because after black king comes to g3, it is either going to support the pawn to become a queen, or white king needs to pick it up. And once it's picked up, black king approaches the white pawn, and it is a very clear draw. No, a second ago, the right move was in fact continuing to march with e5 and allowing black to pick up the queen. How does it work? Let's see. So both sides get their queen out, but white did it one move earlier. And white can now have an important move that solves everything, and that is a check with queen to e2. Black is forced with a king to g1, and now white is simply playing king to g3. It does look a little bit ridiculous, but black is completely helpless here, and white is going to checkmate them, if not in the next move, then a move later. When both sides have a pawn in the pawn endgame, there are sometimes still easy ways to win. The first one we learned today is when your pawn is simply faster. It wins the race, you queen first, and you pick up the opponent's pawn. Sometimes it helps when you can throw in a check along the way and gain that extra tempo. Sometimes, even when both sides manage to queen, you can pick up the opponent's queen or checkmate the opponent even. I hope you're enjoying these videos and you are gaining some knowledge about the endgames. See you on the board.